And welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys for another show, for another tactical breakdown. Not because it's a raw reactions, and that is where I'm starting the show, basically with an apology that there's not really been any tactical breakdowns recently. There's been a couple of reasons for that. The obvious reason why there's no tactical breakdowns is because there's not really been any links heavily that Arsenal are going for these random players. Yes, we got linked with the Olympiacos centre-back. Yes, we got linked with Moise Kean, for instance. But I don't really want to be that guy that just sort of does a video for the sake of it and breaks someone down for the sake of it who've been linked to. We're never going to sign. But I really wanted to break down the players that the links were strong for and players that we were going to get signed. So until there's sort of a player that Arsenal are really looking to go for, hopefully it's a centre-back in the upcoming days. We kind of have our fingers crossed that it will be. I just don't really want to do that tactical breakdown. So that's a reason why a couple of people are asking where they went. But I hope you're really well. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Slightly cooler than it was yesterday. There were so many people in yesterday's video giving in their temperatures of where they were. It was about 35 degrees here, so it was absolutely insane. But yeah, not as bad today, which is why I'm going to do a show basically without me sweating profusely. But let's talk about what you're here for. If you are enjoying the shows, of course, please give them a like. Please subscribe if you're new, with those notifications turned on so you never miss a show, and you can get involved in these live chats like I can see people in our live chat doing right now. We got Dark Zero, we got Lois Saab, we got Zlatko Foric, Andy Crisp, all in the chat so far with some other people, over 60 of you already, which is great. Keep coming in, keep putting your sources, keep putting in your questions, because we're going to chat about all the Arsenal news today and get your thoughts. So we're going to start off with obviously the news, which is, it was originally yesterday based on what was the Real Madrid-Arsenal game, which we drew 2-2. And then during that game, now there's so many ways of putting how much love I have for this player and how sad I am. And you'll know from watching some of the videos and some of the couple of comedy intros that I've done how much love I have for this player, being Marco Asensio. Now, Marco Asensio obviously scored against us to level it up. And even though I love him very much, it was very painful to see him score against the Arsenal. But the fact he got injured, and he got injured in a very serious way in which it looks like it's a possible ATL injury that could rule him out for as much as the entirety of the season, which would be awful for the player's development, awful for his position in Zidane's thoughts going into the following season. And it's a real career-defining injury, effectively, what he's faced with. But the big thing relating to Arsenal is that obviously with that injury to Marco Asensio, there was fears that it could affect the deal that Dani Ceballos, coming to Arsenal on loan for a season, could be basically put to the wayside, and Ceballos would be going back to Real Madrid. Now, there's two ways of looking at this. The one way is thinking that, yes, that makes sense. They need a player. Asensio is worth a lot of money and they're losing a player of great quality, and so keeping someone like Ceballos makes sense. The other side, which falls in Arsenal's favour, is the fact that Dani Ceballos plays a completely different position to Marco Asensio. Asensio can play centrally, can play an attacking midfield role like Ceballos, but he's mainly deployed on that left-hand side, that left-wing slot as a left-footed player. He can also play on the right as well, but that's not really the same position that Ceballos would occupy. Ceballos can also play deeper, sort of in that same role that would be either partnered with Modric or Kroos. Asensio doesn't play that role whatsoever, so I don't think that will affect it. I don't think that would affect the deal, and I think that that comes from even the fact that I've heard from a couple of people that I trust, and that he's at the training ground right now. I'm sure you've seen on social media plenty of those people saying as well that he's at the training ground right now with William Saliba. We've known for a while that William Saliba that deal is done, it's sorted, and so it's only the official announcement to happen. And I have a couple of theories about why it's taking so long. Now, for those of you that know, some of you may not, tomorrow the 25th of July is the Q&A with the club. Basically, there's going to be people there from very high up. There's a lot of people going that are going to ask questions, and I don't know what it is, but I've just got this sneaky suspicion that they're going to announce some players very tactically on the day of this Q&A. Now, I might be just being a complete skeptic person, and there might be nothing to it, but it just seems a little bit too real that these deals are falling in place and being announced just as this Q&A pulls around to try and lighten the mood and maybe put a few smiles on a few faces. I might be being really cynical, and I might be completely off the mark, but it's just one of those things. It's like the whole when Mike and Annie did their interview with Kroenke and the whole "We Care Do You" thing came out and all that, and the statement that very same day that they released a video with Josh Kroenke. So I don't know, it's just a little bit sneaky. Pal Zen says, oh, they will, sneaky. Yeah, Pat Brady says he thinks I'm right as well. There's just something about it, isn't there? It's just that little thing. So do tune into that Q&A if you can. Try and keep up to date. I'll probably will do a video tomorrow on that Q&A, breaking down what the club went into, what they talked about, how I feel about it. Obviously being as much of a part as the weekend do as I possibly can do with some of the interviews and putting out the videos and stuff. So I'm very intrigued. I know a couple of people that are going to the Q&A, so it should be really interesting. Let's answer a couple of questions before we move on to the Zaha news. Ad8 says, do you think Unai having a very short contract will make it difficult for him to give youth as many mins as our talented core deserves? Is he brave enough to do that? I don't think the length of his contract does affect his time in using the youth, because ultimately Emery wants to stay manager as Arsenal as long as possible. It's a lucrative deal. You know you're going to get a lot of money from being an Arsenal manager, and it's a good job to be in terms of having the ability and the control over the players. Yes, there's frustrations in terms of the transfers, but actually as a manager, the Arsenal's job has always been something that's been quite desirable for a lot of managers. A lot of managers have said in the past that it's a desirable job to get because of they've seen what Arsene Wenger and what he had, and the money obviously is the main thing. But you get to work in the Premier League at one of the top clubs, and so I think he's going to try and integrate the youth, because the club will be wanting to see that Unai Emery can bring in youth and develop that youth and bring it forward so that they are developing and being used really well. Hi Tom, and Fabrice Nazen says, what do you think about a loan move for Marcelo? I mean, it entirely basically leans on the Kieran Tierney stuff, which I'm so bored of talking about Kieran Tierney and why the club can't just get it done. Would I sign Marcelo on loan? If you were to offer me up between would I rather get Dani Alves or Marcelo, I'm definitely leaning towards the former. Dani Alves is much more experienced, much more all-rounded than what Marcelo is. Great dribbling, great going forward, Marcelo, but his defence side of things is dire. He cost Real Madrid so many points and chances and goals last season, so no chance. Let's just briefly talk about Zaha then before we cover some more of your questions. Wilfried Zaha today, according to Sky Sports, was linked with Everton. Everton have joined the race to sign him. That's down to the fact that Everton's still a club with the likes of Usmanov being linked towards them, and Moshiri, I believe his name is, that was obviously interested in Arsenal, linked to Arsenal at the higher shareholding level. Now a very big shareholder. I'm not sure if he's the owner yet, but I know he's got a massive stake in Everton. He now has a lot of control, and you've seen Everton's spending go through the roof. And so that's now seen the fact that likes of Everton can come in for someone like Zaha, and so therefore could out us for that deal, because they've got the money that isn't going to embarrass Crystal Palace and could entice them to sell. Do I think it will happen? My instinct tells me no. I think Zaha's reason for leaving Crystal Palace is not to move to a club like Everton. The gap between Crystal